I'm Professor of Imaging Neuroscience here at Aalto. I use non-invasive neuroimaging to study human brain function, and I also develop methods to help in that research. In particular, I have focused on the study of language function and its disorders, and more recently also on our individual fingerprints in brain function. Now, why language? Language is such an intriguing human capacity. It's a key component of our cognition, of the operation of our societies. Language is shaped by the world, and in turn, it also influences and contributes to the way we view and interact with the world. Knowing how our brain makes and uses language could help us to figure out how individuals and societies, how they think similarly, or cultures think similarly or differently, and could perhaps even eventually help us to understand each other better. And frankly, when one looks at the world today, it feels like this is a really important goal, in fact, more important than I ever would have thought. Now, nowadays, most people would think that I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, but actually, my original training was in engineering physics. So let me tell you how I ended up here. When I was at school, I basically loved to learn everything, but I especially loved physics and mathematics because they kind of gave me these wonderful kicks, kind of those moments every now and then that it felt like I kind of flashes of understanding, where I felt like I understood something beyond the question at hand, and kind of, blocks falling in place. In this kind of rather stupid, naive way that one has at school when there are not that many things you have to understand after all, but it feels like the world is out there and you really want to make sense of it. And physics and mathematics gave me that feeling a little bit. And I really wanted to, I loved that feeling so much that I wanted it to continue, so I had my eye on going to study physics. And I know that many people around me thought I would actually probably go and study medicine. And I was certainly interested in that too. But for some very weird reason, which I can't completely remember now, I kept thinking that if I go to study medicine, I will probably end up being a psychiatrist, and that would be too much. And I also thought that I would be able to, anyways, if I would be able to read about medicine and somehow follow that field as well by just, reading stuff. Whereas my feeling was that for physics and mathematics to get into that world, you actually need formal training to really truly get into that mindset. And I still insist that is the case. So I really wanted to, I thought that I have to go and study, but the other things I may be able to kind of just read about. And let me see what I was going to say next. I'm like, what was it again? So, yes, so I was thinking about, so at that point in my life, I really didn't, I was not one of those kids who actually would have done some coding, or actually we didn't do coding at that time, but I didn't have any actual kind of technology or kind of science-related hobbies. Basically what I wanted to do is I kept reading novels. I loved languages. I had no clue what I was going to do, except for this kind of, I really didn't have it was pretty vague, beyond the idea that I would like to study physics. And then I thought that, well, this engineering physics in the then University of Helsinki University of Technology looked like a good place, because apparently it was not going to train me to any specific job, but I could get a bit more time to think about what I would actually want to do when I grow up. And also, it was a bit more practical than just practically oriented than just going to study theoretical physics. Also, it was really quite hard to get into, so that was felt like a great, nice challenge at that time. And I have to admit that the idea of getting the Student of Technology cap with a tassel was a bonus. And in fact, when I graduated from school, I only borrowed the regular student cap because I was like, I don't need this for very long, which is like hilarious considering how much confidence one can have in youth. But I actually did get in, and it was definitely the right choice for me because I was surrounded by my kind of weirdos. So those other students, they were clever and goal-oriented, but they were somehow also crazily childish and oddly funny, and like really weird people, but really nice. And I had so much fun in studying and also lots of fun non-studying. And it felt like, yeah, this is the right place. But I have to say that even at that time, I had no career plan whatsoever. I had no idea where I would end up, and I didn't think I would need to have that kind of idea. So I just kept studying and having fun. So I took biomedical engineering then as a minor because I still continued to be kind of interested on this kind of slightly human side as well. And then one day, Professori Riitta gave a course on the structure and function of the human brain. And I got really interested about that. And because of that, I then applied for a summer job at Low Temperature Laboratory, which he headed. But then it turned out that the other guys who were also starting as summer students at the same time, most of them just really wanted to go to do brain research, which was a really new thing at that time. And I thought that, well, it doesn't matter. I can equally well go to one of those low temperature physics groups because really I was only going to stay for that summer. I just wanted to see what research is all about. But what happened was that that kind of really world-renowned research environment did its trick on me, and I stayed. And in fact, it was pretty cool to study quantum physics in the laboratory. So I thought, that's fine, no problem, I can undo this as well. And but I have to say that the work was, it was lots of work, very long hours, extremely challenging, and lots of failures and some lovely successes. For me, who just really wants to, basically I just want to explore, think, and hopefully understand something. Actually, that was a really pretty good place to be. And that's why I kept going, and eventually I found myself defending my thesis in low temperature physics. I have to say that it was kind of also almost a surprise to me that I was at that point. But even then, I still didn't believe that I could actually become a scientist as much as I loved it. Because after all, I somehow thought that you have to be extremely clever to earn the right to kind of keep on doing, basically living your dream on taxpayers' money. Even so, I went to do a postdoc abroad, but I had kind of decided that after that I will do the right thing and leave the academia and do real work somewhere. But what happened then was that the opportunity arose to actually return to my other great interest, to join the brain research group at the Low Temperature Laboratory. My science father, Olli Lounasmaa, he really was convinced that I have to stay in science, and he really wanted me to stay there. And he also felt that it would be really important to have physicists become actual neuroscientists, not only, like people from psychology, medicine, because he felt that this would be so important for the diversity, really beneficial for the diversity of that new emerging field. So then I thought, okay, if that is the case, I will really try. So I took the risk, made the big jump. And at that time, it just became possible to really image the whole brain at once. And everything was kind of really a lovely big challenge. and almost everything was really new that we were doing. And then I just thought that, well, this really feels like my kind of thing, I can do it. And I kept going. But of course, it's not just kind of, it's not that easy. It also means that when you change a field, it requires a huge amount of work. There's also the risk that you fail. I have to say that as a physicist, I was nonetheless received very well because all the groups were by necessity, they were multidisciplinary. So it was okay it's really nice to come from different fields. But at one point, I started to worry that I was losing my identity as a physicist. And that might somehow be a problem, and I might not be able to do anything else then because I wasn't even a physicist anymore. But then I realized that actually I was still looking at the neuroscience questions also through the eyes of a physicist. And it gave kind of a special angle to the research. And in the end, it turned out to be the right choice because eventually I realized I had come to learn about this thing. I had found my own field, which would interest and excite me for the years to come. So the risk was really worth taking. And I think that in the end, what I would like to say to you guys is that it clearly, well, I think this has been said before many times now, but it's not that critical what path you choose at that point when you leave school and you have to make your first big decisions. I think it's very helpful if you are really interested in something, because that carries you a long way. But we have heard that also you might not have a special interest in something, and that doesn't matter either. But I think it does help if you have that feeling. But whatever you do, whatever is the reason why you chose something, I think the important thing is to focus on it, do it well, take it very seriously, and kind of carry through, and at least not always kind of carry in your mind this feeling that you imagine that there may be something so much better somewhere else. That is not a great way of doing your studies or work or whatever. And also, please kind of do seize opportunities when they arise. But also remember that they will probably take a lot of effort, but don't be afraid of putting effort into things. And, just they will give you so much possibility to do things if you only dare. But even if the path is not really direct, it can be incredibly interesting and educational. So don't be afraid of that if it gets to be a bit more, let's say, winding route that you are taking, because it's not like you are going to waste time doing that. It will all be useful to you. But this is, I think, where I would like to end.